Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Believe in Duke podcast. I'm Steve Wisman, the Duke beat writer for the Raleigh News and Observer, joined by co-host Shelden Williams. Shelden, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing better now. Better. It was kind of solemn for a little bit, and I almost boycotted the national championship until I started getting updates towards the middle part when Kansas kind of made their comeback. I was like, oh, let me go ahead and watch this. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? I can sleep a little bit better now, knowing the outcome of the championship game.
Yes, a very tough weekend in New Orleans for Duke fans. No question about it. It did ease up a little bit Monday night, I think. By the way, I need to mention that our Believe in Duke podcast is sponsored by Bet Online. They've been a sponsor of our podcast all season long. We really appreciate the good folks at Bet Online. Yes, Duke did make the Final Four. They played Carolina. The game outcome did not come the way Duke fans wanted, obviously, a team and everybody else. Coach K's career came to an end, 81-77 loss to UNC in the national semifinal at the Superdome. And then Monday night, Carolina, of course, had a 15-point lead. Kansas came roaring back and ended up winning that game. And so 72-69. So that was not to get too far off here, that was the largest comeback by a team at halftime in championship game history. Nobody had trailed 15 points at halftime and come back at one. So let's give all props to the Jayhawks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just hearing about it in the first half, like I said, I was boycotting a little bit.
Yeah.
Just hearing about it in the first half, I was like, man, they're going to be rolling into a national championship. How crazy is this? And kind of rewind a little bit or go back a little bit. The Duke and Carolina game, I had a couple bones that I had to pick a little bit because it reminded me of the 2004 when we were using the Final Four and all of our bigs fouled out of that game.
Yes.
It reminded me of those of that time. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, things have to change. They have to change. Mark goes up and picks up 2 quick fouls. He sits for the whole first half, rest of the first half. And then Theo comes in and he picks up 4 fouls in the first half. Granted, maybe 2 of those were very questionable, especially the last one when a dude, I think Manic threw the hook. I thought that was very questionable. You can sit there and say his arm was kind of wrapped around him a little bit. I can see that a little, how you can make that call, but I feel like the hook to the face or wherever area was first before the hand wrap. And then all of a sudden, we now with no bigs.
Yeah.
Paolo comes in as the big, and we surprisingly start doing a little well. I mean, we had a little bit of a run.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what? If we just can make it to halftime and keep this lead or still be in the game, we'll get Mark back and things will be different. And all of a sudden, we come out in the second half, we go on a quick run. I'm like, okay, there we go. And then all of a sudden, it stopped, and Carolina went on like a 11-0 run.
Yes.
I'm like, what is going on? And I understand the game is a game of runs. And I understand that. So we made our run first, then they made their run, and then we kind of go back and forth. And then not to kind of go through the whole game, but it's on my mind right now. But
it's okay. I think that's all right. Yeah.
I know I've been around professional a long time, and even playing and coaching, but I could have sworn that should have been a continuation on Trevor Keels, where he was driving to the basket, he takes a dribble, gets fouled, in the active motion, and he's going up. And for some reason, that was not called. I'm thinking to myself, that changed the game right there. And I didn't see a way to kind of overcome that part. And they didn't even, I don't know if they even looked at it, but to me, I thought it was a continuation where he didn't dribble the ball, he didn't make another basketball move. He went up for a layup and scored a layup. And I'm thinking to myself, we had a chance to tie the game, get back on defense, and try to get a stop and see if we can score at the end. And that right there to me just changed everything.
That changed everything. And then, of course, Caleb Love made that incredible shot with 24 seconds to put him up by 4.
That was a huge shot.
I mean that was a dagger.
Ballsy shot and everything too. I mean, Mark had put his
Mark
hand
was
up
right there.
and
Yeah.
right there. I mean, that's a ballsy shot. I mean,
Yeah. But you're right.
Great shot.
Those calls, yes. And one thing I was, talking to people after the game about was, that's one thing about the NCAA tournament with officials is that you get officials from different conferences that haven't seen your guys play, and they don't know your moves. They don't know the way you do things. So what you're saying about like with Manic and Theo, officials that had called the two previous games or seen them play all year would know the kind of moves they make and things they do. And maybe they wouldn't anticipate a call. Maybe they wouldn't anticipate a foul call, like what happened there, right? Maybe they think they'd see it differently because they know, oh yeah, this guy does this, this guy does that. Same thing with Keels on that, the and one, which should have been, they called it on the floor, and that official wasn't an ACC official. He's, they had officials from different conferences, and he may have thought, well, he wasn't going to shoot, he was going to stop, but Trevor always makes that same move, and so an official that sees that would know that. And I guess it's kind of like what you're talking about in the NBA, like the officials, you get the same officials, they call the NBA all season long, right? They always call the NBA guys, so they know what moves different guys make, and they can see, oh yeah, that's a move he makes, that's going to be a continuation, right? So I don't know, that's just one of those unfortunate things about NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about it like that. I just thought since he didn't put the ball back on the ground or he didn't make any kind of other non-basketball move, it should have been a continuation. And granted, I got a little bit more vested into this because I'm more a fan. But even with that being said, I mean, I just thought that was just a no-brainer. Like, it's an and one, we're going to the line, and now we got to sit and make a free throw to tie the game up. That's my whole mindset and everything.
Right.
But it was a lot of adversities throughout the whole game with foul trouble and us going through streaks where we'll be going on a run, they can't hit a shot, couldn't get a stop. Then we come back and fight our way through that and couldn't get a rebound sometimes. I mean, Baycott freaking had 20 rebounds, and I don't like to say, a player being hurt and everything. I was like, I tweeted out, I was like, I hope you're not hurt, but just stay out a little bit longer, Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, I hope you're not hurt, but stay out a little bit longer. I mean, my man had 20 rebounds against us, and I mean, he was dominant against the bigs on our side for the rebound and things like that. I'm like, we didn't have anybody kind of crack in on the weak side, try to take his body out of the paint where he can make it hard for him to try to get these rebounds. And when him underneath the basket and the Manic way he was shooting in front of people like they weren't even there. I mean, and then they all of a sudden they got that confidence going and that they started rolling. I'm like, man, you can see the momentum changing. And that's the thing that I was like, all right, we got to make it stop. We got to make it stop. I'm like, Paulo, make a big play, and, things like that. And this, unfortunately, didn't work out that way.
Right. Tough ending to Coach K's career. I mean, there's no way around it.
And to the same team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The home game loss and then that one. And of all teams, it's Carolina.
Exactly.
But so we move on. Carolina lost to Kansas in the championship game. So we head into the off season now. And we're gonna talk about that here in a minute. But I do want to say another word about Bet Online, our sponsor. Bet Online is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info and odds. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's odds for the Masters Championship and the start of the Major League Baseball season. Today is opening day as we tape this. So good, get baseball going here now that basketball's over. Bet Online is your continued source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on popular sports and games. Bet Online, where the game starts. Speaking of the Masters, of course, Tiger Woods is playing. I know that we're talking about Duke here, but how about that? Tiger Woods is coming back and playing.
Right. I mean, I'm not a big golfer outside of putt and Top Golf.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's able to actually come back and play, I'm excited to see bits and pieces. Like I said, I'm not a big golfer, so I wouldn't watch the whole thing. But just to see somebody overcome all the things he's overcome in his whole career. I mean, the guy won a freaking tournament on a torn ACL. You know, you know how hard it is on a torn ACL. Like, you walking all that time, you twisting and turning on a torn ACL.
And he's not riding the cart. There's no
Yeah,
carts.
it's he's walking. Yeah, how crazy is that? And
Right.
then they said the Masters is one of the hardest courses because there's a lot of hills and things like that. You're walking up and down the hills, and
Right.
he already has back issues, knee issues, ankle issues, and trying to play. It's amazing to see that he's actually out there on the golf course, doing these things. Hopefully, he's able to last the whole time.
Yeah.
There's a chance that he may not. I heard that he was limping already.
Yeah.
And it just started. So I'm not sure if that's his normal walk now or what, because I haven't seen him in the limelight in a while. So it's going to be interesting to see how he actually does this, because you don't want to see a great, especially considered one of the greatest, play the sport, to
Mhm.
not be able to go out on his terms,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. He's got a rod in his leg from that car accident. So
Right.
anyway, so yeah, we veered off for a second there. It's okay to talk about the GOAT. He's the GOAT of golf, right? Tom Brady's the GOAT of football, and Coach K is the GOAT of coaching. So we can segue back into Duke.
Yeah, I did see that they try to sit there and make it seem like Coach K is going to pull a Tom Brady and come back again for another year, but he kind of nixed that today.
He did. He's not going to do that. He said, something about I'm glad to be in the same room or be mentioned along with Tom Brady, but he's got skills that are still at a high level. I'm done with coaching. He said, and I'm done with coaching. He's ready to be live the next part of his life. He's going to do a lot of things at Duke. I know he and Mickey are going to do some traveling, so he's certainly earned, this kind of a break. So now the John Schyer era has begun, right? He began officially after the game when they lost. He officially became the head coach. So now we're going to see what he's got going. He's got a great recruiting class coming in. We've talked about that. But just to go over it again, 3 top 10 players in the class, including Dariq Whitehead, was the MVP of the McDonald's game, 6'6" swing guard kind of thing. And Derek Lively, he's a 7'1" center and the number 1 rated player in the class. And then a 6'11" big guy named Kyle Filipowski from up in, he goes to school in Boston, but he's from the New York City area. He played for Andy Borman with the New York Wrens in AAU play there. So, so that gives them 3 top 10 guys. And then they have 3 other guys coming in. Mark Mitchell, a 6'8" forward. Jaden Shutt, who's a shooting guard from Illinois, from the Chicago area. So John Shire's backyard and Coach K's backyard, right? Chicago, always got guys from Chicago coming in. Anyway, they've got a great class coming, number 1 rated class in the country. He's off to a great start. He's trying to add to it. Now he's building on 2023. He's got 3 guys already committed for that. They're hoping to get a couple more this week. That's going to be a number 1 rated class, it looks like. So it's hard to imagine anybody getting off to a better start than John Schyer is in this job. He's doing about all he can do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the way things have been set up for him, he has a good chance to get that early monkey off his back, so to speak. It'll be a lot easier with a better team, which he has. Like you said, he has 3 or 4 guys that are 4 or 5-star recruits that's coming in and play for him right away. So it's pretty cool to actually see him kind of taking that position right away. My thing is, it's going to be very interesting to watching him, assert his own niches on the game and also the program, Duke basketball. And I mean, it's got to be hard because it's big shoes to follow. So it's got to be hard. That's not even a question. It's just that watching John Schyer the last few years and how he was been able to actually recruit, how he's been able to actually command respect from the players, and on top of that, he's an intelligent guy, so he knows he has a high basketball IQ. So not only that, I think it's a good pick for Coach K to release or relinquish the reins of the Duke basketball program to John Schyer. I think he will excel just because he has Duke best at heart. So I think that's going to be pretty good for us. I mean, we already have the top 5 recruiting class for this year and next year, and it's going to be adding on, possibly adding on to that as well. So
right, yeah, he couldn't be off to a better start, and now he's starting to put together his staff, which is going to be important. I mean, let's face it, John's never been a head coach, right? So, in fact, he was last Friday in New Orleans. He sat down with myself and a couple other reporters to talk about things that for after the season. After the Duke game, whenever Duke's season was over, we decided we'd run the stories then. And he talked about how he'd never hired anybody before, except for like an agent, right? But I mean, like for a coaching job, and that's how this is all new to him. And so, but he's already gone about and lined up Mike Scroggy, who right from your playing days. He was on the staff then. He was the head coach at Elon. He's agreed to come back to Duke and as a special assistant to the staff, to John Schyer, and help. That gives him somebody with some real experience who's been a head coach. He was an assistant for Johnny Dawkins at Stanford for 8 years. He was with Chris Holtman at Butler for a year, at Ohio State for a couple of years before he came back to Elon to be a head coach for the last 3. And of course, he was at Duke for 9 or 10 years in last decade, I guess, 99 to 2008.
So Shoggy's been around for a while. So
yeah,
to put it bluntly and everything. But Shoggy's been around for a while. He's been able to study underneath a few great guys. I mean, he has Indiana ties as well as Duke ties. So that's where that Butler thing came in play. Going out to Stanford, being out in the Pac-12, and then coming out to Elon, and kind of get closer to Duke, and then full circle came back to Duke and everything. So it's pretty cool to kind of watch his story. I didn't think that he's going to come in as a special assistant. That was still kind of surprising to me.
Yeah,
but
it is.
the fact that Duke's keeping things in house is pretty cool to actually see. The progression of how guys go to Duke, leave Duke, and come back, and it's still a big part of who they are and where they want to go.
Yeah, exactly. He's part of the family for sure. In the meantime, though, another member of the family has decided to step out of the Duke family and go to Louisville. Nolan Smith. Louisville hasn't announced it, of course, yet. They're finalizing everything, but he's going to go back to Kenny Payne's staff as associate head coach, which is a big move for Nolan. He was only an assistant coach here for 1 year, but he sure impressed a lot of people along the way, and he's been a great Blue Devil. And my understanding totally is this was his father, of course, played at Louisville. Derek Smith, his late father, who passed away at the age of 34 in 1996. I mean, Nolan was just a little guy when that happened, when his dad had his heart attack. And the new coach at Louisville, Kenny Payne, crossed paths with Nolan's dad at Louisville for 1 year in the 80s. They were teammates for 1 year, so they knew each other very well. So this is, of course, Nolan has always been close to the Louisville family because of his father, playing on the 1980 national championship team and then the 1982 Final Four team. So I believe Nolan's sister graduated from Louisville. His mom graduated from Louisville. So this is really a move that's really personal to him. And as I mentioned on Twitter, it's kind of like Roy Williams with Kansas and Carolina. He loves both institutions. It's not immoral to be in love with two. That's Roy's saying. It's not immoral to love two institutions. So
I totally get it. I mean, for Nolan to go back, I mean, essentially, it's back to where his family kind of started, with his mom and his dad, meeting at Louisville, being together at Louisville, getting married. He goes off and he starts playing professional. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here with us today. But like you said, Nolan's been keeping those ties with that side of the program and that family as well. So even when they go back for Duke, I see on Twitter or Instagram where he's taking pictures with people, either with his dad's stuff or I think somebody even drew a picture of his dad and gave it to him, things like that. So they always had love for him. So it's not surprising that he's taking that move. I mean, one, he's going up because he's associate head coach, and then two, is going back to, like I said before, where his family kind of started. So it's going to be hard to lose a person that comes from your family, especially with Nolan, who's being quote unquote, the people's champ. People love being around him. He has so much effect on a lot of people around Durham and Duke as well for, things he did outside of the program, whether it be foundation stuff, charity stuff, those type things. He had a lot of things that he was doing outside of Duke program. So that right there would be missed. I mean, he's a great guy, and I wish him nothing but the best going out to Louisville.
Yeah, he's going to have a great future. He already has a great present, but he's going to have a bright
Right,
future
right.
in coaching. And this is the first of, he'll move up the ladder and be a head coach at some point, I think, in his career. He's just going to be 34 this summer. So he's got got some experience to get there, and he and Schyer were teammates, that national championship team. So I know they're close. And I think there was some speculation that there was some kind of rift between them. I've not heard anything about that. I think this is clearly, because of Nolan needing, again, he's a Louisville native, and his dad is buried in Louisville. And I know whenever he goes back there, he visits his grave and everything like that. So that's a good move for him. So Duke's got to hire another assistant. Emil Jefferson, I think, is in line to move up to be one of those assistant jobs, right? Emil's done a lot of things this year. He got to do things that you normally don't do in that role. He was in that director of player development role where you normally don't work on the court, but he got to do some on-court coaching because Chris Carrawell had knee replacement surgery in the office and during the season. Remember back in December, and the NCAA allowed Duke to have a waiver so that Emil could fill in. There were some games when Carrawell wasn't even on the bench right after the surgery, so Emil became an assistant for those jobs. And then even through the season, while Carrawell was recovering from his knee replacement, there are times when Carrawell's doctor would tell him, you can't be on the court doing things with players. You need to be on the sidelines or sitting or whatever because your knee can't handle that yet. And so in these situations, the NCAA allowed Emil to step in and take that role. So he comes in with if he does move up, which is expected, he comes in with a little more experience than what normally you would have from being in that job. So, and he's young. I mean, his playing career has ended last year, right? So,
right. Yeah. I mean, technically he should be still playing. Question is, I don't know if he's more willing to do, I guess, on court stuff, because I'm sure he's still got a lot of basketball in him.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to be on the court with the guys and still be able to play, it might be kind of therapeutic for him because he gave up playing so early to come coaching and be able to be on the court and still kind of get that feel of, what, I could still do this if I wanted to. And it's more, I guess, ease, on his mind type thing, because he went from playing to coaching just like that. It wasn't any like in between transition time and that stuff. So it's pretty cool to see that he was able to do that and be able to get a little bit of experience, not only on the court. I'm sure he got stuff with film while Carrawell was out and everything, kind of learned how to cut up film, how to present film, how to sit here and try to get players to understand what exactly he's looking for, what exactly their program's looking for, that type of thing. So stuff that you kind of use that you usually don't use that the first year. You kind of sit and kind of watch and listen to a lot of different things and his technique and his technique and his technique, and then kind of forge your own in the making. But he was able to do that right away. So kind of like trial by fire, but it's pretty cool to actually be, ahead at this point in the game.
Yeah, from everything I heard, he did great. He did a great job at it. So he's ready to go. And I mean, you saw Emil. He played in the G League for a while. He was in the NBA for a while too. He got some experience up there. And I'm sure let's face it, he'd rather be still playing. but he's you know how that goes when your career is coming to an end. Sometimes you want to keep going, but he's obviously got a big future ahead of him in coaching as well. So that'll take care of one thing. Now the other job, we don't know what's going to happen with that. They gotta see. We'll see maybe if they go outside the brotherhood. I mean, that's unusual. It doesn't happen at Duke.
Right.
Very often. In fact, that's right. There's a lot of names out there of people that are coaching in other schools. Would they leave and come back, or would John Schyer seek somebody with a different voice, a different outlook? Maybe, I don't know. I do know that John last Friday when we were talking said he's not going to hesitate to call Coach K and say, "Can you come to practice and watch? Because I'm curious about this or that." And Coach K will do it. But John says he knows that Coach K won't call him, that he'll give him his space, and that it's going to be more John calling Coach K and saying, "Hey, can I run this past you? Can you come watch this?" can you look at this piece of film maybe so I can see what's going on? But so Coach K will have a role. I mean, right? I think we always knew that he won't. It's going to be hard to just go cold turkey, not coach at all.
Yeah, I mean, the way Coach K is, I don't think he's going to be that helicopter parent,
Right.
that type thing. I don't think that's in his nature. I mean, I'm watching Winning Time right now. We're on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Good show, by the way. We got Jerry West. He's kind of being a helicopter a little bit because he's trying to see how this new guy McKinney, coaches, how he's going to coach the new team and things like that. So he's kind of being around. I don't think Coach K is going to be like that, where he's at every practice or trying to be at every meeting. You know how if you watch the show, he's kind of like eavesdropping, trying to hear the conversations.
Yeah,
and things like
that's
that.
not him.
Yeah, that's not how Coach K is going to be. I think he's going to be a guy that literally will speak when he needs to speak. But if you reach out to him, he'll give you all the information, all the tools that you need to get wherever it is that you're asking of him. But he's going to sit back and watch and let you be you. I mean, just kind of like how he was coaching, like, hey, this is how I coach. I'm going to try to get this out of you. But outside of that, it's up to you. Who are you going to be? And then go from there.
Isn't that good? Like, I guess that's one of the secrets to his success. He would kind of tell you what needs to be done and bring you to that point. But then it's like, okay, you've got to buy in here. You've got to bring something to the table too. You've got to do the work that needs to be done, that we think needs to be done, that'll get you there. And then
exactly.
If you do it right.
Yeah, he can't do it for you. Like, he can show you what to do, but he can't do it for you. That type thing. I mean, shoot, even when I was in school, I still remember the story where, I mean, at the time he had, I think it was either 2 hip or 2 knee replacements. What just happened? He had something like that just happened. And we had a game where there was a lot of 50-50 balls, meaning that, it could be either team's chance to get the ball, and he rolled the ball on the ground and he jumped on the ball, and we like, should we help him up? Like, he did just have surgery not too long ago, that type thing. And like, for a guy to be that age and still to be, be that energetic at 18 and 19, 20, 21 years old, you had no excuse. Like, you have a guy that's showing you what to do, how to do it, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to do it. And he can't want it more than you want it yourself.
Right. Exactly. That's amazing. I've heard that story before. It's an amazing story. Of all the amazing Coach K stories, that one, like after having surgery, and that's like 10 years after he'd been out with his back surgery, remember, and missed that season.
Right.
I mean, think about that. Yeah. I mean, it's just incredible. So anyway, well, we're going to have it's going to be an exciting off season for Duke. Let's face it. This was a team that made the Final Four. They won the ACC regular season. There's going to be 2 new banners up in Cameron. So that makes it, I know the ending obviously wasn't what anybody at Duke wanted, but we look at the season as a whole, 32-7, and 2 new banners going up in Cameron. It's been a great year. We appreciate everybody listening to us throughout the season. Hope that we added some insight to your Duke fandom, and we're going to continue this in the off season, of course. We're going to keep talking about, the coaching changes that may be coming, coaching updates, new members to the staff, recruiting as it goes through. John Schyer, that they've already put the schedule together for next year. It's not 100% finalized. So, but we do know they're going to play Kansas, the reigning national champion Kansas. That's who Duke plays in the Champions Classic on November the 15th in Indianapolis. That won't be the season opener because it was supposed to be November the 8th. They moved it back a week because the midterm elections are that night. It's going to be a lot of attention based on that, on the congressional and House and Senate and all those races. They're going to open the season obviously against a couple other teams before they go to Indy and play Kansas. But anyway, it never stops. Then they're going to play in Portland in the PK 80 or PK 85 now, the Phil Knight Invitational at Thanksgiving. So anyway, lots to talk about in the off season as that comes together. We hope people will join us here on the Believe in Duke podcast, sponsored by Bet Online. Shelden, just I guess, what are your final thoughts on the season here before we clear out this episode and go into our off-season mode?
Right. I mean, I think it was a good year for us. Obviously, like you said, it wasn't the way we wanted it to end, but at the end of the day, we still went to the Final Four. We still won the ACC. Like you said, we 32 and 7.
Mhm.
We had a great year for our team. For us to come back next year and try to do it all again. I mean, any team that's playing, any coach that's playing, I mean, that's coaching right now, we're willing to have a season like we just had. We have higher expectations than a lot of other programs, so it doesn't always seem to be where we wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, we still had a really good year. We still had a really fun season. We saw a lot of the ups and downs and how these kids kind of overcame a little bit of adversity throughout the year, whether it be injuries or not playing well, being benched and coming back, and these type things, as well as Coach K's last year. So it was a great year for us in that aspect. I'm looking forward to the reign of now John Schyer, his whole career and everything. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how things are a little bit different from what we saw the last. Well, I didn't see the last 42 years, but the last, all the
I know what you mean.
right. Coach K's era and things like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how that compares. I mean, because he's going to get comparison all the time.
Oh yeah.
Coach K all the time. So, but for a guy like John Schyer, he has to have thick skin, and I think he's ready for it. I mean, Coach K wouldn't give him the keys if he wasn't. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So good deal. Well, listen, thanks everybody again for listening this week, and we'll be back soon with another episode of the Believe in Duke podcast, sponsored by Bet Online. I'm Steve Wisman with Shelden Williams. Thanks everybody.